Hello and welcome to Shouting Over Static. For now, I'm your host Dylan and I'm joined by Mark
Yo!
and Jack.
Hello.
Sadly, no Chor this week. He's busy with work as we've been pushed back to another weekday record, which we've not done in a while. So congrats to us for making it this far, I guess.
Yeah, we had like a couple of months there where we were just smashing out those Saturday mornings.
Yeah. When was the last time that we actually had to record? During a week.
It's long.
A while ago, right? We've done pretty well. I'm proud of us, guys.
Yeah.
This
I
week
feel
was
like I
thrilling.
haven't been panically editing a podcast at 10:30 on a Tuesday night in like a couple of months, so it's been a while.
Which is admirable. We're sort of working on something new, I'd say, for this podcast. This is sort of the beginning, which is why the name may be up in the air. We've not quite figured out what we can call it yet because, there's so many podcasts out there. Basically, all names are taken.
Yeah.
But we'll take this opportunity, I think, to explain what we're going to go through and then also maybe say goodbye to our old format. We'll briefly talk about our last game that we all played together. But I think first and foremost, we should go through what this format is. So, Mark, do you want to... You sort of proposed the idea in the first place. Do you want to go through what we're actually going to be doing?
Yeah, okay. So, as with all things, it's an ever-evolving process, isn't it, what we're trying to do? Mostly because no one listens to this, so it's really just an excuse for us to talk about video games once a week. And so the original format we had was, each person takes it in turns to bring a game to the table, the virtual table. Oh, I missed the virtual table. We should bring back the virtual table. And that was all right, but we found that maybe there were moments where we just didn't actually have anything to talk about.
Yeah.
And so we thought, well, each week now, or each month maybe, we'll all start a new game we've not played before, or at least haven't played for a while, and then we'll at least have something to talk about. And it turns out that was interesting, but stressful, and meant that we spent a lot of time not talking about the games we were playing, and a lot of time panicking about getting games finished.
Yeah.
And sometimes people would spend weeks playing a game they didn't really like, and getting all the scheduling sorted out so there'd be a week where everyone would be together to record was a ball ache, and it was just a fucking hassle. So we're basically just saying, well, why don't each week we just talk about video games for like an hour, but we try and actually make it games that all of us haven't played before and have wanted to play for ages and are in our backlog, our pile of shame, whatever the nomenclature you want to use is. And we can all play whatever games we want from our backlogs, and we're going to talk a bit about the different backlogs that we've all generated over the last 24 odd years of playing video games in a bit, just to sort of get an introduction to where we're at, and it just hopefully gives them an opportunity to discuss games from the last however long, really, and maybe take some of the stress out of it. And like, I already know from talking about our backlogs that there are some games in my backlog that are in Dylan's backlog, so I think they may be worth discussing there, possibly. There'll be some discussion there when we cross over. But we don't necessarily have to play the same games, we don't have to be together.
Don't have to
once a
finish at the
month.
same time as well, which is, I think, even more beneficial, right? Like you say, the
Yeah.
scheduling part. I think it's really taken its toll on. I feel like at points it's meant that the shouting over news episodes have ended up being somewhat more fun to do because you don't have to worry about it. It's just like what's happening in games at the moment, and then we just chat shit about whatever we end up talking about.
Yeah, whereas now we can just come together and just be like, well, I'm sure this is not going to stop everyone from playing upcoming new releases. I got an incredibly good deal on Resident Evil 2, and
Nice.
so I will be talking about that at some point. But I guess the point of this now is to talk about games that we've all been meaning to play for ages, to give us an excuse to do it as well.
Yeah,
right?
and I
That's
think
the idea.
I think as well, you touched on it. There is going to be crossovers between some of our backlogs, and also there'll be points, I imagine, where someone perhaps has been on the edge of maybe getting a game and playing through it, and maybe one of us has played through it and can give a educated view on just give our opinions about it, and maybe even, I guess, try to, I guess, not persuade, but just try to put it across so that maybe the person who hasn't actually played it but has always wanted to play it actually sits down and plays it.
Yeah, I mean, there's a sort of element of we're all, I think, fairly varied gamers, right? We all definitely like our own things, and we play often the same things as well. But I mean, that's just a case of games, right? The most popular games get played. But I think for each of us, even though our backlogs do cross over, there's probably elements where I'll have played games that you guys haven't, and definitely the same the other way, like 100% same the other way. And I think that sort of will hopefully give rise to like a good discussion, because you can see how somebody's getting along with it from a fresh view, and also how it's sort of viewed in almost rose-tinted glasses. I think will lead to quite a fun discussion.
Yeah, and hopefully it will just make everything a bit more fun, a bit more relaxed, and like we can all, considering no one listens to this and fucking we all have full-time jobs outside of this, maybe it would be nice if we actually just made it fun and easy, as
instead
opposed
of like
to
a chore.
Yeah, no pun intended. As opposed to fucking me having sleepless nights over the weekend, or it's just like, oh shit, I need to beat Hyperlight Drifter, and I hate this last part of it. I'm so bad at Hyperlight Drifter, but I want to finish it so I can say I finished it. Just shit like that,
Yeah.
I mean, I've had that with Sleeping Dogs, right? I was sort of playing through it, picking it up when I could, and just being like, I've got to squeeze it in. So it meant that if I had an hour here or there, I'd try and do it, but it felt like it was something I had to do. And then as soon as we sort of said, okay, we're going to move away from this, I still thought, well, I've started Sleeping Dogs now. I'll keep giving it a go. And I think taking that burden off of it makes it... Maybe it was just because I got to a point that was a bit more fun for me, but I think there was definitely an element of, this isn't a task anymore. I'm just doing it because I want to be playing games. And I think like games should be that, right? We shouldn't be... Especially as people who are doing a podcast because we like games, we shouldn't turn that into our sort of burden to bear.
Yeah, like if it was a job, if this was somehow our full-time thing, maybe there would be an argument to be made for us all committing more to what you're playing. But the fact is, it's not. So why don't, like now, you can say, well, okay, if there's a game in your backlog, you say, okay, well, by next week, guys, I plan to have started whatever the fuck, and then if it gets from the next week and you say, I played 2 hours of it and I don't want to play more of that game, and then you just move on, and you can talk about those 2 hours, or you could even just say, well, actually, I moved on and I played something else, and let's just make it, let's make it fun, but there is still a gimmick, I guess, right? And so we did come up with some rules, which was, I guess, the game has to be older than a year, unless there are particularly special circumstances. So, like, if something's like 10 months old, but you've been talking about it for ages, you go, well, who gives a shit? We're not going to be totally strict about that. And it has to be something that you've never played before, I guess, because it's in your backlog, right? It can't just be like, I think, or at least we should probably say, it can't just be like, I've been really meaning to replay this, because that doesn't really seem in the spirit of things. Let's at least try and keep this. Let's at least keep each person's particular opinion kind of as fresh as possible. Yeah. Right?
Yeah, I think that's key, right? It's not really a backlog if it's just like, I've really been meaning to marathon all of Halo like 20th time. It's not really.
Yeah, exactly. Like the other day, I read a retrospective on Mirror's Edge, and I immediately re-downloaded Mirror's Edge on Steam, and at some point I will be playing Mirror's Edge, but I will probably design to not talk about that in this, because I've played Mirror's Edge many, many times before. Yeah, but I think, just got to be older than, we'll say, a year. And I think that is I was thinking maybe older, but a year kind of works, because so many games come out at such a rate at the moment that
that's the thing, isn't it?
You can, in just a year, you can fall so fucking far behind.
Yeah. I mean, think how many games came out on like the PlayStation in the past year that are sort of key games that I think lots of people would say everybody has to play. That it's just ridiculous. So I think we also suggested kind of like 5 years, right? And I think I think would inspire us to play really actually part of the backlog. It will stop us from playing fresh games. It's also limiting you quite a bit because, again, like the past 5 years, we've probably grown up quite a bit. So the kind of games we want to be playing now will have changed quite a lot anyway. So
yeah, dude. Yeah.
I think
I mean that's the podcast, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know what we're going to call it.
Yeah, we need to come
all the ideas I keep thinking of keep being other people's podcasts.
We hit such gold with shouting over static, but it just doesn't seem to fit, does it?
Yeah, maybe we'll keep shouting over static and change it up a bit.
Give
I
it
don't
a
know.
subtitle.
Yeah, shouting over static backlog edition. Shouting over static all blocked up.
That's real good. Maybe that's it.
All blocked up. Shouting over static, video game constipation.
Less appealing.
Okay, yeah, maybe we shouldn't have a podcast after a poo joke. Does anybody want to kick us off by just talking about what's in their backlog? Maybe what they're aiming to play for the next week, by what they aim to maybe have put in by the next time we talk? I don't know. Do we want to do that? I'm not really sure. We're just kind of make up as we go along, aren't we?
Well, I'm happy to do like a quick run through of the sort of key games I've thought that I need to go down. I mean, I can just run through it quick and give
Yeah.
Yeah, holler at me.
brief ideas. I mean, I think so. We've discussed this while discussing the idea of the podcast, but mine has ended up being, I think, probably a little strange for me, and I think there's a good reason for that. But I've even just the first three. So I've got like Fallout 3, Fallout New Vegas, Mass Effects, all of them, all the Bioshocks as well, and so then there's a bunch more. But I think those are sort of and Fable actually is on there and falls into this. These kind of games that, from how our playthroughs of things before have gone, I'm not necessarily the best at sticking with these long, like, big story games. And it seems a little strange to think that I really want to play these, but I think that's probably why they're still there. Because I find those kind of things often a bit daunting to attempt or whatever. But people constantly talk about, especially those first bunch, like those are on loads of people's best game lists and stuff like that. And like with Fallout especially, I think Mass Effect I might struggle with a bit more because I've played a tiny bit of 3 and I was a bit but it's a lot like Dragon Age, and obviously it's a lot like Dragon Age, and I kind of enjoyed that, so I feel like I could get into it if I really made an effort. And Fallout especially, like, I loved Skyrim. Everybody loved Skyrim, didn't they? So I feel like I would actually, if I ever gave it a shot, I think that's the kind of game I could get involved with. And this is what I said to you, Mark, was while it seems a bit strange for me to go for those kind of choices, I think with especially Fallout, I can kind of make up my own story. And that's what I did with Skyrim. Like, you obviously follow a path, but I really love character creation and being able to think up a backstory. And so Fallout and Skyrim kind of lets you do that.
Yeah.
So I think that's kind of why those are on there, and like maybe Fable as well. I also put down, which kind of well definitely falls into the same area, but this was mostly just because Tom doesn't stop going on about it. I put Morrowind on there as well because, like I said, I like Skyrim, but lots of people talk about Morrowind with, I guess, in the same sort of way people who like Grand Theft Auto talk about San Andreas. Like, maybe it's not actually as good, but it sort of set the precedent.
Yeah.
Is Morrowind or Oblivion? I think Tom's a big Oblivion guy.
Oh, true,
I think,
actually.
isn't he?
Yeah. Tom is
Because that was the one on the 360.
Yeah. So maybe I'll go for that instead, actually.
Because Morrowind's a bit older. Morrowind is, you have to go quite far back to get to Morrowind.
That's true. Yeah, Morrowind's an Xbox original, right? Or I mean, other stuff as well, but.
Yeah, original Xbox, whereas Oblivion was the 360. I mean, obviously, try Morrowind. Morrowind seems cool.
Maybe I'll do both.
I never played it, but yeah, I don't know. I'm excited to see your progress on some of these. What do you think you're going to start first?
Honestly, I think I'll probably end up going with Fallout first, purely because that's one of those games that, and New Vegas especially, I think, is one of those games that I always sort of think I should really give that a go, because places like Reddit fucking love Fallout.
Yeah.
And they're spoken about with such sort of... They're like such a gem to so many people. I feel like I should give it a chance. And it seems like a fun place to start, even if it's maybe a big place to start.
Huge place to start, but maybe just having a... We'll see how many episodes we get through of you just coming like, yeah, so I played another couple of hours of Fallout this week.
I'm just going to start coming in with like my whole backstory of fucking who knows whatever the character ends up being. It'll be a story podcast by the end of it. Tune in for next week's edition of Dylan Plays Fallout New Vegas.
So I love Fallout 3.
Yeah.
I've played well over 100 hours of Fallout 3. I thought Fallout 3 was incredible.
Yeah.
I own New Vegas, and I bought it and then basically just stopped playing 100-hour RPGs, or at least stopped playing them with any real commitment. I think like the only 100-hour RPG I've really played in the last probably 5, 6, 7 years even. I guess Fallout New Vegas is older than that, but it was The Witcher 3, and that took me like almost 2 years to beat.
I still haven't beaten it.
Yeah. I would be excited to hear what you think about going through that. I think New Vegas, from what I've heard about New Vegas, I think it would suit you more, because I think New Vegas gives you more options as a player to make choices and go through the world in your own way. Whereas Fallout 3, I think you have less choice, but I just loved like that world and the stories that were in it.
Yeah.
So it might be that you, as the way you want to play it, I can't speak to the stories that are in New Vegas, but I can speak to kind of what I've heard about New Vegas and player agency in it. So it could be that's the thing that keeps you going, rather than because like I wanted to play Fallout 3 because I wanted to see all of the crazy towns and meet all the people. I wanted to go to the Republic of Dave. I wanted to know what that was all about, you know.
Yeah.
And so I played lots of that, but I think that's not necessarily your thing. Whereas I think your thing may very well much more be like New Vegas and being a key part of that world and changing it and shaping it and being involved in all the like political intrigue and shit that goes on in it.
Yeah. Yeah,
that's cool.
I mean, that definitely sounds like the kind of version for me. So,
do you own any of them?
Of the ones I've suggested, I think I have. So there's some others that were on my list that I didn't mention, like the Dead Space trilogy and Psychonauts and stuff like that I do have. But I don't actually have Fallout, I don't think.
Right, okay.
Might have got it through some kind of Game with Gold thing, but I don't think so.
Yeah, I mean, it tends to be quite cheap these days, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean,
and it's all back compat as well, isn't it? So
exactly. I just need to find a old copy of it in a second-hand store somewhere, and I'll be good to go.
Yeah, mate.
I mean, there's also stuff on there that I think is completely opposite of that. I've got like, I want to play a bunch of the old Zelda games, because I think I've never actually. So like, I've played the sort of Game Boy versions where it's come out later, and I played those a bunch, but I'm not actually sure if I ever played Ocarina of Time.
It's a pretty good game. I don't know if you've heard.
Yeah, so I feel like I should play those. Really, my brain got switched on to Zelda's, other than that one Game Boy version that I had when my brother played like Wind Waker, and I gave it a bit, like I was allowed to play it occasionally, and then I played Twilight Princess. But I didn't really touch on the other ones enough, so I feel like that sort of area I'm hoping to get into as well with this. So I think it'll be interesting. I've also put down Nintendo Switch and PlayStation 4, because maybe I'll just use this as an excuse to buy one.
I like that. I think that is. I like where you're aiming your sights there. That's cool.
It's important, man. I mean, I need to play some Breath of the Wild. I just need it. So
game's pretty good. Don't know if you've heard.
Right. Well, what either of you? Where are you coming from with this sort of backlog idea? What's in your pile of shame?
Go on, Jack. You go first, mate. What you got for me?
So I guess some of the stuff on my list, my concise list, I guess. I obviously, like you guys, have probably got way too many games than I care to name. But I think some of them are games that I got when they came out, and or I might have picked up in a sale, and I sort of sat down and then I tried to get into playing it, and I never really got into them as much as I would have hoped. I think so. I guess one of the ones to name a few, is probably the first two Darksiders games. Again, I picked them up in a sale, and I just never really got around to giving it the attention that it actually probably deserves. Because from what I've heard from you guys talk about it and all of the reviews and everything, those are pretty good games. So I'm looking forward to getting through some of those. I also, I guess, I have my brother's old PS4, and one of the, I guess iconic series for PlayStation has to be Uncharted. I picked up the
trilogy.
the collection of it. So 1, 2, and 3, and I must confess again, like 1, I played when my brother had. I played a bit of 1 when my brother had it on his PS4 or PS3, but I just never really got into it again, and it's just one of those like iconic video game series from, I guess, like last gen, now moving on to this gen as well with Uncharted 4. So it's always just been one of those ones where I hear a lot, or at least when it was out, I heard a lot of good things about it, and I just never again gave it the attention, or I guess at the time I didn't really have it, so I couldn't physically do anything about that. But it just struck me as, whenever I talk to someone who's got a PS4 and has played it, I always hear great things about just all of those games in that series. So yeah, I've got a couple of other ones. So I've seen, I guess, I now have a steering wheel for my Xbox, and I've always been like, I do like driving games, but the one thing that I've never really been able to get into is games like Dirt and any kind of rally game. And what I saw on at the moment, I think one of the rally games is actually on Games for Gold at the moment.
Yeah, it is. It might have been last month though. I'm not sure.
Yeah. But basically, I just want to see how it handles with a steering wheel, because I've always played them with controllers and it's never really felt great. And I just want to see if it can have, like, if it can really pull me in, just based on the fact that I'm using, I guess, a controller that would suit how the game's meant to be played. So I'm really excited for that. I know it's obviously the way that the rally games work, and they tell you like the next corner about it, or they tell you like the series of corners that's coming up, and you have to try and remember which way to turn and how much brake or whatever you have to put onto it. So I'm looking forward to that. I've got Dishonored that I just again picked up in a sale, just haven't played.
Hey, I don't know if you know this, but Dishonored's pretty good.
Again, you see, it's. I feel like with a lot of my games, it will be like, oh, they've come out and I'll hear really good things about it, but I'm not willing to pay X amount of pounds for like just to play this game, and then I'll wait for it to come out in a sale, and then I'll be like, oh yeah, I'll pick it up in a sale, and then just neglect it. So it's,
don't sleep on Dishonored, man. That should be your first go-to game. I fucking love Dishonored.
Okay, I'll take that, and when I'm making my decision on what one, I still don't know which one I am gonna start first, but yeah, I'll take that into consideration. I've got Mad Max as well. I guess the most recent game of that.
I own 2 different copies of that.
Really?
Yeah.
Is
one
one
on
like
the PlayStation and on Steam? Yeah.
Ah.
And I still haven't played either of them.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, I guess like I need to work through those. Yeah, I picked up like a bunch of Tomb Raider games a while back as well, so some of the properly old ones as well, so I need to work my way through those.
Is that the collection that comes with like Anniversary, Legend and Underworld?
I think so.
Yeah, I've got the same trilogy. We sound like we may have some similar lists here, Jack. Come from. Just like, Steam was giving away like 4 games for £5, so I just have like 300 games in my Steam list, and they're all in my backlog now, because obviously I'm never going to play any of these games.
Yeah, so I guess like I say, there's so many more that could be on that. I guess that's probably some of the top games that I'm really looking forward to playing through. Yeah, I guess I've got so. Some of the games that I also had considered are sort of, I guess, cheating, because there are games on my, I guess it's not really a backlog, just like a semi-backlog, where I've played X amount of hours through a game and then just left it for a couple of years and never really got back into it. And there's certainly some games on my list which fall into that category that I want to go back and actually just complete, just for completeness.
I mean,
really,
I've got the
just to-
same. It happens far too often, doesn't it? I mean, like I said earlier, I've never finished Witcher. I didn't actually ever finish Dishonored 2. Stuff like that is,
Dude.
yeah. I know,
Yeah.
right?
Dude.
But I feel like I'll probably have to hold off on those games and maybe go for something fresh to start with at least, and then maybe work my way through some of the other ones in the meantime if I ever do get like maybe a bit bored or annoyed by the game that I select. So yeah, I guess I've got a solid
Sorry, go
list.
ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna say I've got a solid 10, 20 games at like the top of my list.
Yeah.
But
That's the thing with this, isn't it? Like anybody who's been playing video games with any sort of real commitment for longer than about a year has a backlog as long as their fucking arm, don't they? Like the more and more things you say, the more I'm like, oh yeah, shit. If I load up GOG Galaxy and look at the fucking 30 games in there that I've bought in different sales, and it's like, oh shit, that's a back. Like that is already a backlog enough to get me through until we change this show format again, you know?
And I mean, like, games that you played a little bit of but haven't finished are just as valid a backlog game, aren't they? Like,
yeah,
because that I think is a big part of everybody's pile of shame, a game that they've neglected despite wanting to play. Which is...
Yeah, totally. I think we may try and formalise some of these lists, even if they end up really, really long, because I think it could be quite interesting to keep some sort of record of where we're all at, how long our lists are getting, because I'm guessing it's going to be just this constantly growing, shifting fucking mess, and I think it would be quite fun to watch that go in terms of the list lengths. I'm excited for you to play the Uncharted games, Jack.
Yeah,
Really?
I'd like to hear that.
Because those games are so fucking 2006. And like, I really like those games, but I wrote a piece for the uni paper about Uncharted 4, I think. Maybe.
Oh yeah, you
I
did. Yeah.
That like it's those games never really change up the game part of them, but just keep increasing the spectacle and the graphics and stuff, so they look great and it's fun to play and it's awesome. But like by the third or fourth one, it's like, oh shit, man, this is the same bad third person shooting that it's been since this was a launch title. So I'm really excited to see how that holds up in 2019. I think that's going to be really, really interesting.
Oh, brilliant.
And not to immediately put you off either, because they are really, really cool. Uncharted 2 and 4 are both phenomenal.
Chor fucking loves them, doesn't he? Like, he goes on about them
Yeah.
all the time. So, and even just talking about that on this show, you'll have a good old fucking discussion there, won't you? Because you and Chor have both clearly love the game, and having someone new coming to it is just a fun thing to see.
Yes,
talk about.
definitely.
What about you, Mark? What about your list of games?
Fuck, man. Where to begin? So a couple of highlights actually. So one that stood out to me very quickly, and it was because it was actually on Dylan's list as well, and it's one that I 5 or 6 years ago played the first 2 hours of, and then I had to go and have a conversation about something with someone that I'll explain off the air, because it's not a particularly nice thing to say on a podcast, but it meant that I never got back to playing it, is BioShock. I've never played any of the BioShock games and would really, really like to, and I have them on Steam. So yeah, BioShock is one that I super want to play, because I think I would like to see how those games hold up as well. I suspect with mixed results, actually, the way they're going to turn out. Then going through my Steam list, because that's literally just how this goes. It just goes through Steam and just be like, right, shit, so what else on here do I need to get? And just like, so there are some things on here that it's like here's one. Here's a game purchased 26th of December 2015. Not played it. Don't even think it's ever been installed, but I've wanted to play it the entire time. D4, Dark Dreams Don't Die.
Yeah.
Yeah, just like shit like this. But the big names I think that I pulled out are like I want to play Bioshock, Deus Ex: Mankind Divided,
Oh yeah.
because I loved Human Revolution and I got Mankind Divided like the first sale it was in basically, and then never played it because that's how Steam works. And then so there's a few like indie games that I've been wanting to play for ages but haven't. So like, I want to play Firewatch.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
Firewatch is supposed to be really good, and I want to play like Kentucky Route Zero because that's supposed to be really really good, and like Gone Home because that's supposed to be really good. So there's definitely going to be a chunk of time where I think I'm just like caning through like the highlights from the indie game renaissance of like 2010 to 2015.
I mean, have you
whatever.
played Heatseeker yet, or what is it called? That the
Heat Signature, yeah,
Heat
I've played like 10 hours of Heat Signature. It's fucking
okay.
great. Yeah, Heat Signature is really really good. Then going through this Hotline Miami 2 again, another indie game.
I forgot
that
that
I-
even existed.
Yeah, exactly, right. And I've heard that the game isn't as good, but the soundtrack's even better. And
Oh fuck. Okay.
I've spent more time listening to the soundtrack of Hotline Miami than playing it by a factor of probably 10 at this point.
Mate, Hydrogen is such a great song, man.
Hydrogen is just the biggest fucking track. Invisible Ink, again, another indie game that's
cool.
supposed to be really, really good. This is not the most engaging content, but I am literally just going through this and being like, right, shit, what else do I need to play? I had a list and I've completely lost it. So, Resident Evil 7,
I'm
which is supposed to be incredible.
Biohazard, yeah.
And
shocked you've not actually played that yet.
yeah, not even installed it. Again, just like I just assumes that's a slightly more recent one. Coming down through this list, I should have made a list, but I've just been so fucking busy with work today. I want to play that Tomb Raider reboot from 2013,
Yeah.
which you all know because I've had it on our list of games for Shack Over Static since the very beginning. But then in terms of like again indie games, I never played Undertale.
Yeah.
me
That's
neither,
actually something
actually.
I need to put on mine.
Yeah, and Undertale's supposed to be really good.
Because there's even like
Final
a
one-
kind of not a sequel, but he's almost working on a new game now that's
Like Deltarune, isn't it?
yeah, and like the
Yeah.
first chapter of or something of it's out, and they're not sure if it's even ever going to get finished, but apparently is also incredible. Like another
Yeah.
soundtrack based game, apparently.
Yeah, man. So the last game on my Steam list, and then I'm gonna quickly pop over to some other libraries, and then I'm done. Honestly, this is I have more money than sense. Zombie, do you remember Zombie U, the Wii
yeah.
launch title?
Yes.
But then when it came to other platforms, it was just called Zombie.
Yeah.
I really want to play Zombie, so Zombie's on there.
I've got that on my Xbox, and I played it briefly, and then got to a bit of a map where it's just like I don't know where to go from here, and I've never touched it again because I literally couldn't find a route to do. I just wandered around like, what the fuck where is everything? And
I just want to beat on some zombies with a cricket bat, man.
it's pretty exciting.
And then yeah, I also just jumping out of Steam and just into some other things. I want to play Alan Wake because I like Remedy games. And actually, once I play Alan Wake, I want to play Quantum Break. Basically, I say I like Remedy games. I really like Max Payne 1 and 2. And have bought all the other games they've made and not played them. So I'd like to play their other games to justify saying I like Remedy games.
In theory,
I wanna-
you like Remedy games.
In theory, Max Payne 1 and 2 are some of my favourite games ever. So I want to play Syndicate, the Overkill game, 2012 reboot of the old Syndicate tactical RPG thing from like the EA put out, because that's supposed to be like a super super cool like slick campaign like cyberpunk thing. And then yeah, I just got a grip of PlayStation games as well that I've been meaning to play for ages. Like I bought a second-hand copy of Bloodborne and never played that. Just shit like that. It's as with all things, it's an ever-growing list, but at the moment my PlayStation is acting up, so it'll be something from Steam.
Yeah.
It'll be something from Steam. I don't know. I might do some indie games, if I'm honest. I might jump into some indie games because that'll be a nice one to sort of tick off a few quick games early. But
Yeah.
maybe not. I might just play Bioshock. I might actually use this as an excuse to finally play Bioshock 12 years later.
Yeah. And that's the thing, isn't it? That's what I think this is a good thing for us, because like we all love games, but we do have some massive holes in our backlogs that we really should fill.
Yeah, 100%.
Don't talk about filling my holes.
I managed to scroll back through the chat and find Chaw's very brief list.
Yeah, holla. What's Shaw's brief
I
list?
figured I'd give him the honour of putting it in here. He's got Titanfall 2, which, I mean, we'll be able to talk to him about a lot, so that'll
Yeah.
be fun. If he does end up buying an Xbox, we can just all play it together.
Does it have cross-platform with Windows?
I don't think it does.
Okay, because I've only got it on the
yeah.
personal computer.
Gonna have to get Titanfall 2 on the Xbox, man. It's only like £2 now.
Yeah, I back that. Okay, I'll play Titanfall 2 on the Xbone.
He's got Ruiner on here, which I think is, to be honest, something I should have put on mine as well, because it's just had such a fucking slick trailer. It was sort of, for me at least, very reminiscent of kind of a Bastion style game, but darker. I don't know if that's actually how it plays, but that's how I always viewed it, and it would be cool to see that. I'm excited for Chaw to play that and just get into his Cyberpunk, because, you know, that boy loves Cyberpunk.
That boy loves Cyberpunk.
Not if
He's
even
always
though that
he's
might
always
not be
punching deck.
He is. There's Homeworld Deserts of Karak. Never heard of it, but
That is a remake of Homeworld, I believe. That is it's a tactical. It's like a 4X game. Homeworld, I think it's either an RTS or a 4X game, which are kind of the same thing, but not really.
those do sound like chore style games.
Yeah.
Yeah, real-time strategy video game developed by Blackbird Interactive and published by Gearbox Software.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it is just a pure RTS. I think one of those Homeworld games is more of a 4X game, but I'm not sure.
No idea, but I'm sure he'll. It
I
seems
mean,
like the
according
kind
to
of game-
Steam, he already owns it, so
maybe that'll be the first. It seems like the kind of game he could get very into if he had any time. So
yeah, he loves all that shit.
we'll be able to see him do that. There's Stasis, which I know the name of, but I've forgotten right now.
And spooky indie game, isn't it?
Okay, if you Google it, you just get a film. So let's write Stasis
Yeah.
game.
Yeah, it's a spooky
Yeah,
indie game.
looks
It's
like
an
a spooky indie
isometric thing. There's lots of blood and blood.
It's a
and
point and
more
click.
blood.
He does love point and clicks as well. Chura's a strange man, but he's got some good game taste, so I trust him.
Yeah.
A game called Gris.
So Gris is like a really new release, so
Yeah.
we might have to talk to him about that because I'm not sure. The Gris is like I think Gris
December
came out in, like-
2018.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not-
And
It's supposed to be really, really good.
but
Like
fuck that.
it came up in a lot of Game of the Year discussions and like all over the patch, but we might have to talk to Shaw about Gris.
Oh damn!
'cause-
Its Steam rating is 10 out of 10 with 3,625 reviews.
Yeah, it's supposed to be really good.
Shit. Oh,
He's gonna have to wait until next Christmas to play it though.
maybe that's his plan. Keep it on his backlog until next year.
Oh god.
A Devolver
What plan?
game, so I'm sure it's unique. There's also two more two more well-known games for his final two. Horizon Zero Dawn, which I'm honestly shocked he's not played yet. That is like,
I have owned that game for almost a year, and I also have not played it. So yeah,
so
really?
there you go. That's a game you could both play.
there we go.
And
Yeah.
finally, which I think we've spoken all as a group about, this final game, and reason Chaw may potentially get an Xbox, is so he can play Destiny 2 with us, which would be fucking sick. Go into some Gambit, shoot up some motherfucking Hive, baby.
That's the West Clan. What's the current gun meta?
I
What's a
have
good gun?
no idea. I have not played Destiny in a while.
Oh,
Dude.
what? Mate, slacking.
I've been busy with Celeste, basically.
Oh, fair.
That's fair.
Celeste and Sleeping Dogs took up all of my game space. So,
Hey ho.
and Celeste, most of it, because that game is addictive as fuck, and you can play it at 10 minutes at a time.
Man, that game makes me, like... You know what I'm like with games that require you to jump off of walls and, like, not die.
It would have been the
Yes.
perfect game for when we did our video game marathon, our 24-hour marathon. It would have been the perfect game for put Jack on tilt.
Cat Mario was alright.
Cat Mario was really good.
Oh,
Cat
man.
Mario is kind of the best.
But that's intentionally awful.
At some point, it becomes kind of funny rather than frustrating because you
Yeah.
just realise it's fucking you on purpose as opposed to you just being bad at Cat Mario.
That's what's
Yeah.
disheartening about Celeste, is it's just like, I know
You're
this
just
game
bad
is
at
well
Celeste.
enough made. Yeah, it's like this is such a pixel perfectly made game that I know it's possible. I'm just not good enough. So
Yeah.
that'd
I think
be-
that's quite cool though. There's like 4 lists. We've already picked out. Like, there's a lot of. Not everybody has the same game on their list, but there's definitely like, oh, I've got games. We've got games that we all share with each other, and games that we don't share with anybody, which I think would be like quite a nice bit of variety and discussion, and it will just kind of be light and nice. I think,
Yeah.
right?
I mean, hopefully it just leads to us being able to shoot the shit about stuff it relates to, because I think that's kind of what has been the best about our most recent podcasts, I think, is that,
All the new stuff.
well, not even that, but like I think we've kind of we're a bit more comfortable in the podcast situation, I feel. So we just chat more. Before we tried to, I think, especially with the first season, we may call it, of SOS, it was we stuck to, we bought this game, let's talk about this game, try not to deviate. And then when we had the news and a game we all played, I think the news, we often tried to just get news stories out and stuff. But now I think we're more comfortable. We just chat, and I think hopefully this will lead to, we can just talk about the experiences we're having rather than trying to follow what's happening in the like deadest month of the year for video games.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
So I'm excited. I'm really excited to see how this goes, because I think, like you say, there's unique games which will be fun, but also there's so much crossover, not with just what we're playing together, but like what you've played before that someone else may not have. I think it's a fun time for shouting over the static, or what? Shouting over static. Fuck, I did it again, Mark.
It happens. Well, whatever we end up calling this, I think this episode will go as Shouting Over Static finale / New Beginnings, and then maybe, I don't know. We have to see how the format and all this is going to go. For now, this will just remain Shouting Over Static, and then maybe things will change up a bit. But
Yeah.
whatever, man. I think it could be fun as well. I know Jack has had his tried his hand at this, and we've had a little go of it before, but it could be a fun excuse to trying to record some stuff, stream some stuff, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'd
Yeah.
be well down for that, because I think some of the more fun experiences we've had with creating content has been just being stupid on games.
Yeah, if we can work out a way to have us either all play something and record 4 separate audio tracks in like one video track, or just like one of us play something and send it out to everybody and record that with no enough latency that it's all right, and we can do kind of like a asynchronous, non like abstracted out let's play kind of thing.
Yeah.
Even if it's not like full playthroughs, but it's just like let's fart around in these games that you're playing. If someone's like, shit dude, it turns out BioShock, alright, let's all just watch me play BioShock for a bit or something like that. I don't know, let's just try and have some fun with it, because
Yeah,
frankly it was just been getting stressful trying to do
yeah, I think that was
Shouting Over Static as a real important thing, and there's no fun in that, is there?
It made me
Really?
almost dread the big episodes, because I love doing the news episodes, especially like I was saying, especially recently. I've had so much fun with them, but the sort of big episodes have just became like something you have to do, and it was kind of like, well, we shouldn't be dreading those kind of things. So
Yeah, definitely.
I think one thing that I kind of wanted to ask if I could put on my list, because it is a game that
Oh, God.
I wish to play.
Oh, is it? Oh,
please.
This is going to be a tabletop game, isn't it? This is Pathfinder or Fiasco, isn't it?
Well, Fiasco would be fun, but like, I really want to play Pathfinder again, because I never
roll
got very
20.
far. I think that would be. I think if we did some roll 20 and did some, I will happily prepare a Pathfinder game.
Guys, we may have to sneak in some roll 20. Yeah, see, this is it. I think I don't know what we're going to call this thing. We might just keep calling it Shouting Over Static because it is a good name, and just remove the A Video Game Show and Tell project from the title. But yeah, let's just try and have some fun with it, I guess. Cause...
I mean, we've got Low Expectations Media on YouTube. Fucking plugged. We can always just put that stuff under that banner and keep the podcast as this thing. So
yeah, totally.
We'll see where we go, folks.
Oh yeah, especially as I've said, no one fucking listens to it anyway. So let's try and have fun with it.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe people will listen if we have fun with it.
Ooh.
Big shout. Hot take.
Yes.
That's our final hot take.
I love a good hot take.
Ah.
Actually, I think we should close out with a quick hot take about Sleeping Dogs, which is fuck Jackie. He deserves everything he got. That dude sucks.
Seems like a good way to end our shouting over the static season.
I think. Dylan, do you mind hearing spoilers for Sleeping Dogs?
Go for it. Go for it.
Let's see if I can get to my Sleeping Dogs notes. Where are they?
Oh
Sleeping
man,
Dogs.
I didn't even take notes for Sleeping Dogs.
I think on the very first page of my notes, I wrote... Oh, I can't even read my own fucking handwriting now. My handwriting's so terrible. On the very first page of my notes, I wrote, Jackie has to die.
Nice.
And on the penultimate page, 5 pages of notes later, I wrote, yeah, Jackie had to die.
Yeah.
I actually really like Sleeping Dogs. If I'd played it when it came out like I wanted to, I imagine I would have been fucking obsessed with it. I was really, really into like everything that game was doing. But fuck Jackie, that dude sucks.
I actually, I think either I mentioned it before we started recording or I mentioned it at the beginning. I really, some of the stuff in Sleeping Dogs, I find it hard to sit down and play at times. But some of the stuff that's in there is actually really quite cool. And I feel like lots of other open world games really miss out on something that there's a certain aspect to Sleeping Dogs that I think other open world games don't have that I really quite like. And a big part of that may be being able to jump from car to car. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, that's
totally.
It's a cool mechanic.
It really, really shows itself as true crime Hong Kong.
Yeah.
Like it is so. I never played True Crime New York, but I played the hell out of True Crime Streets of LA, and it is so
beautiful game.
That it is, it's just trying to do so much different shit. And I was playing it, and there was stuff in it, just like the obviously all the brawling melee combat stuff in it is fucking great, and some of the takedowns in it are gnarly. There is there was a takedown you unlock near the end. I say unlock. There was a takedown you start being given the opportunity to do near the end, where you fucking put someone's face through a table saw.
Oh my god, yeah, Jesus Christ, I know exactly what you're talking about.
There's a bit where you have a fight in a fish factory, and there's all these swordfish heads pointing directly up on a pallet, and you can grab someone and sprint them into it, and fucking tombstone them down into all the sword, and like multiple impale them, like it's fucking gnarly. But just like... Yeah, there is funny writing in that game. There is like a variety to the gameplay that I didn't expect, with the way that there's like different types of hacking and different types of like planting bugs and all this other stuff, that it really, really tried to do lots of cool different shit. And like I finished playing it and was just so heartbroken that they didn't get a chance to make a sequel, that sequel got cancelled, because like giving those guys a second chance to not be like shackled by all of the work that was done on True Crime Hong Kong that turned it into that, and just be like, right, take whatever your design ethos here was with this and go further with it. Because like I think that some of the plans for that sequel got out, and it was going to be like multiple characters, like you're playing as one character who's an undercover cop and one who's actually just a fucking gangster, and like they're best friends but they don't know it, and like going back and forth each other, and just like it sounds like it would have been really cool. And yeah, Sleeping Dogs was Sleeping Dogs is fucking rad, and yeah, just so many good characters in it as well. It's a shame you should try and get more of the way through it, Dylan, because there are some characters in that I think you would really, really vibe off.
Yeah.
There is a character called Old Salty Crab.
That does sound like something I'd vibe off.
And he's a feng shui master. And so you have to go and you literally go and you break into someone's house and do bad feng shui to try and give them a panic attack with this fucking fat, greasy dude who keeps making like masturbation jokes called Old Salty Crab. It's just a fucking great game.
Honestly, like, I think I didn't give it enough time at the beginning, and I hit a point, like I said, about taking the burden off that made me just sort of start to really like small elements of it that I think if I have the time to give it the time of day, then I could really get into it in a big way. And I think one of the turning points was actually I hit someone with a fish in the middle of a fight, and I loved it so much that it's just like, oh, game of the year. Like I picked up a fish and slapped a guy around the face with a fish in the middle of just a street fight. And if that's not a brilliant game, then what is?
Yeah, I think the one thing that sort of made me disconnect from it a bit, I guess, like obviously with this sort of game with an open world thing where you're basically, you're free to go out and do whatever you want, and you've also got like the story missions that help you progress through it. I feel like very early on I got distracted by doing way too much like side stuff, which sort of just detracted away from me wanting to play it anymore. Like
I think I had a similar thing. Yeah.
I did very little side stuff.
That the fucking karaoke like mini game in it, man.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
That was part of the main quest, though, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Karaoke, right? Yeah.
You do it a couple of times as part of the main quest, actually.
Yeah, but like it's like stuff like that, like the racing as well. I did actually quite a bit of that towards the start.
Because you got your fucking steering wheel, mate. Plug it in just for Sleepy Dogs.
I mean, I didn't use it, but but yeah, I mean, it certainly goes places, and yeah, like you say, Mark, it's actually, I guess, a bit disappointing that the sequel wouldn't, like, it just didn't get made. So it's
just for a game that tries so hard to like directly crib from like GTA as like a third person open world action car crime game.
Yeah.
It tries so much harder to give you a diversity of experience than GTA ever did, really. Up until, I guess, GTA 5, when they introduced the heists, suddenly you started doing new different things.
Yeah.
But for fucking however many games before that, for GTA 3, Vice City, San Andreas, and GTA 4, you basically just do the same shit. You drive to a place and you shoot some people, and then you possibly chase a guy, and then you do that, and then sometimes they give you like some really bad tailing missions or something.
Yeah.
But like, there's rarely ever a chance to like do anything new or different in those quests, really. And when there is, it just feels kind of shitty, like that remote control stuff from like Vice City and San Andreas. Whereas it felt like every mission in Sleeping Dogs was like, oh, now you have to go extort these people, or oh, you have to go and break into this place, and you have to plant bugs in the right location, and to do that you have to be using whatever thing, or you have to hack this, and it requires you to do this kind of hacking mini game, or unscrew the screws in this vent or whatever. And it just felt like it was constantly trying hard to make you do new stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Constantly.
and like,
sorry.
I was just gonna say, I just thought it was really cool, and just like
Yeah.
like entire missions where like the entire mission is you go to this place and you pick up this dude, and then you drive to a club with this dude, and then the majority of the mission is you walking up to different women in the club and doing like quick time events to chat them up so they come and hang out in your private room and sing karaoke with you.
Yeah.
And then after you play karaoke, you get into like a big fucking brawl outside the club, and you drive this guy back to his hotel. And it's just like, you still drive somewhere and fight someone, and like the quick time events aren't that difficult, but it just felt like it was trying to do something different.
Yeah.
Which, like GTA, I didn't really feel like up until 5 ever really did.
Yeah, it constantly felt like, with all those missions where you do something new, it almost felt like, oh, they're introducing a new mission mechanic and I'll have to do this a few times. But then actually it's just like a completely unique thing. It's not just like a set of like repeatable missions. It's a bunch of unique experiences, which I think is really quite cool. I just had the the Jackie's death scene on in the background while we were speaking about this.
It's brutal.
The big fight afterwards came on, and I saw the table saw bit, and then he threw a guy onto an open pipe, and then he burnt a guy's head. So the fights in this game get way more intense.
And like that's something the game does as well that's really clever, is once it introduces guns, and like the gun stuff isn't that good, but if you learn how to exploit the slow-mo you get from diving over cover, it does like a really nice job of just like alternating between like gunfight where you do like slow-mo kung fu diving shit, and then action brawler where you just beat the crap out of people, and like it just kind of alternates back and forth, and it gives it quite a nice pacing to it as well. It's just it just does variety in a way that I like. Even GTA 5 even like it didn't find a way to make the combat in GTA games interesting. Like the combat in GTA games has never really been interesting. No. It's either been lock on shoot, lock on shoot, lock on shoot, or at least in GTA 5 it was like lock on and then aim up slightly to hit them in the head and then shoot. But like it's never really been that exciting. And the combat in Sleeping Dogs, again, just like super engaging, like great set pieces. All the finishing stuff and the brawling stuff is excellent. Like it made me want to play Yakuza again, because it's like that's what Yakuza is. Yakuza is an open world brawler basically.
The fighting is legitimately fun in Sleeping Dogs. Like you don't expect. I think coming from a sort of GTA view of it, that's the kind of game it feels like it's going to be. And then all of these things that I think are annoying about Grand Theft Auto end up being just incredible parts of Sleeping Dogs. It deserves. I think it deserves more love, and I really wish I could have like gotten myself into it more, because
I was so into it kind of from the word go. I was playing, like I said, I finished it weeks ago because like the moment I started playing it over Christmas, I was just like, shit, this game is cool.
I remember getting to a point like what you said, Jack. I remember getting to a point where it's just like, I felt like I wasn't doing any story missions, and I think it's just because I kept accidentally going to side missions instead. And on the map, sometimes I struggled to see story missions, so I ended up going to something else random by accident. And I think that put me off at the beginning. But then once I got into the flow of story missions, it started to feel a lot more like, I want to be doing this.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of side stuff in that game that you don't have to do that is like infinitely like all the face missions you do to just get like more street cred are like random, infinitely spawning, constantly repeating. Like none of them mean fucking anything.
Yeah. Although they do mean that you can wear that fucking Bruce Lee onesie.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
So they are quite important. But
yeah, it's a cool game.
I think I'll probably end up putting it on my backlog so I can talk about it with you, maybe more in depth. Maybe at some point. I think maybe I'll try and give it a bit more of a go at the moment, but I think I'll try and also get something else off the backlog first, to give it a bit more space. But I think I'll definitely keep it on there because, like I said, it's sort of started to hit home a bit more soon. And the way you speak about it with such reverence, it's like, I've got to give it more of a chance, don't I?
If I had played it when it came out, I would have been obsessed with it. I would 100%ed it.
Yeah.
It gave me the same kind of, I just love doing everything in this open world feeling that I got from, like, Black Flag, almost. Like, I want like, if I had the time, I would have gone around and just done all the side quests and got all the outfits and all that other stuff, just because, like, beating people up in that game felt good, and there was just like a really great variety to all the different side missions. Like there's one side mission where you hunt down a serial killer, and one where you like infiltrate a street racing gang, and it's just like, it's a fucking cool game, and it's gutting, absolutely gutting that United Fronts got shut down and they're not making the sequel.
Right.
Should we call that an episode and see each other next week?
Sounds good to me. I think that's a nice place to end on our experience with the current model of Shouting Over Static.
Shouting Over Static, all blocked up.
I do think that's a great name. I think honestly that's the perfect name, and if we don't go for that, I don't know why.
Alright, we'll go for Shouting Over Static, all backed up, and then we'll change the description on the SoundCloud
Definitely not all
video
blacked
games.
up, I think is what you
All-
accidentally just said.
Oh, did I not say all backed up? Oh no, it's
I think you accidentally
not a
switched
blackface
between
podcast.
all backed up and all blocked up. And
Oh no, it's not a racist podcast. It's not a racist podcast. It's not a racist podcast.
okay,
Oh man.
yeah. Well, let's finish it there. That's a good end point for us.
Catch us on iTunes, motherfucker.
Yeah, basically. You can find us on iTunes and SoundCloud under Shouting Over Static. I assume we'll keep it the same for now, at least. You can also find us on YouTube at Low Expectations Media, where, you know, maybe potentially soon we'll have some more content. I know we've said that a lot at this point, but, you know, who knows?
I've got a weird itch to see if I can actually work out how to, like, play something over the internet and have you guys watch and us had to have a conversation over it and then put that and then record all of that and put it somewhere. I feel like that could be cool.
Yeah.
I think it would also
I-
fit the all backed up, all blocked up medium quite well. Because, I mean, we just talk about the games once a week, but then also once a week put up one of us playing one of our games.
I think it would be cool to see if we can get that working, even if it's like I don't know. We'll work something out. It might not be once a week. It might not even be once a month.
Yeah.
It
Occasionally.
might be that but I think it would be a cool thing to do.
Right. Yeah. So see you next week on a new format, and we'll see how it goes. Maybe we'll really fuck it up,
Maybe.
but I don't think
I
so.
mean, if we haven't missed a week yet,
Yeah.
Oh, that is true. I mean, that is mostly from your saving grace of occasionally just fucking working out an episode last minute.
did you ever listen to that one I did when I got back from a work social? I
You
was
Yep.
like 6 pints in.
You
Yep.
spoke so poorly of it that I decided to let you keep your dignity in my eyes.
Thanks, man. Especially because it was like the 4th take of a 10-minute podcast as well. 'Cause I kept just pausing it and being like, "This is fucking terrible." Right.
Right.
So much for keeping it tight.
We only went over by like 4 minutes.
Sweet. All right, boys.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye.